Emily Dickinson was a very musical poet, while Walt Whitman was the great American poet, painting his words on the vast canvas of the United States. Dickinson was a genius who found the universe in her garden. She shone a light on the smallest details of daily life, revealing them to be metaphors for the divine. When I first discovered her some 20 years ago, I fell in love with the melody and rhythm of her words, so it was a natural transition for me to want to start writing music based on those words. As part of my research, I started looking into other composers' works and discovered that there's a large legacy repertoire of music based on Dickinson's works. So that gave me the idea for starting the Dickinson Ensemble as a champion for some of these neglected legacy works, as well as a venue for me to be able to write and perform music based on her words as I hear them. So for some time now, I've been working on a chamber suite called Emily Sings for soprano, flute, cello, and piano. And we're getting ready to do the world premiere of that in a concert that will also include legacy works by composers like Herine Coetzee, Vivian Fine, Ernst Bacon, William Seidman, and Gita Steiner. So I'd like to introduce you to the musicians working on this project with me so that we can hear some of their thoughts on the creation of new music, as well as listening to some of their fine performances.
I sing to use the waiting, my bonnet but to tie.
As a singer, I see my role as interpreting the poetry. And I think one of the challenges of being a singer is getting away from your vocal technique and allowing words to come forward. Like, to me, as a vocalist, I don't want people to think I'm singing. I just want them to hear the words and for the music to be just sort of incidental to the work. The point is to try to bring out her poetry. I think I have to be very careful not to add too much vibrato or add too much color to the voice in order to sort of be a little bit more transparent so that the words come forward. The idea that she didn't tour the world, she wasn't running all over the place gaining experience, she wasn't married. There's debate of whether or not she ever had any romantic entanglements. As far as we know, she just stayed in this little town and had her books. But the capacity of the human soul is really shown through somebody like Emily Dickinson, because she wasn't consuming. She just had it in her, and I find that to be so just breathtaking, and I'm so excited to learn more about her and to interpret her poetry.
I think of Emily Dickinson, I think of nature and all of these outdoorsy New England sort of areas. And so I think of myself as sort of being this atmosphere for the score. I think with any new music, I find it difficult to think that I've created the right thing. But I guess trusting yourself to create it is kind of the difficult part for me about new music, is that I have to remind myself often in the practice room, right, that just like take the risk and just see, bring it to the rehearsal and just like risk it and see how it goes, and just like dig in and see what you can offer, and just sort of like trusting my instinct when I look at the textures to say like, this is what I would want to go for in this section, so hopefully I'm right,
My role as the cellist in this group is actually straddling almost every role. There's even a movement in which I do speak the words of Emily Dickinson, but I also have the opportunity to dialogue lyrically with the other instruments, and often those are explorations of the underlying psychology of a poem, or sometimes creating a setting, creating the environment. I have been a fan of Emily Dickinson's poetry since I was 13, and so when Don approached me about this project, I was so excited to have the opportunity to bring Emily Dickinson's words to more people, musical audience members that might experience this in a new way, as well as the folks who maybe are diehard fans of hers already, experiencing this as a musical rendering rather than the words on the page. Emily Dickinson has written somewhere near 1,800 poems, and yet only 10 of them were published during her lifetime. And so I find that so interesting because you could almost make a similar analogy for Bach, for example. A lot of his work wasn't even heard for years and years and years after he actually passed away. And so I sometimes feel like we have this responsibility for as many people as possible to get to know this work in a format that's engaging, because so many people didn't get to hear it. I find that kind of an interesting thing to mull over.
I got into Emily Dickinson's poetry really for the first time. I'd read some of her poems before, but this was the first time I'd really delved into them and chewed on them a little bit more to understand where Don was coming from in making the melodies that he did. And so it was kind of an exciting project just to get into that for the first time in a while. And then I'm looking at the score, trying to see who I'm playing with, how we're going to make that work. The most interesting one to me was Touch Lightly, Nature's Sweet Guitar, which is entirely words. So there was a lot of creative freedom in that, and how we actually spoke the words rhythmically and tonally. It's a blank slate and you can create it. You can start from scratch. There's nobody telling you how it's supposed to go. And Don is wonderfully relaxed about these things, so he really gave us a lot of creative freedom in our work. We were already looking at some more contemporary pieces that have been written by other composers, and they're all different styles and different voices, different musical languages, and I'm just kind of curious how her poetry is going to be brought to life with all these different composers and their ideas. So excited to be part of what's coming up.
So as a composer, forming the Dickinson Ensemble has been the opportunity of a lifetime for me because it allows me to combine my love of literature with the creation of new sounds. I wanted to write Emily Sings in a musical vocabulary that Dickinson herself would have understood, as well as a way of exploring tonal harmony to find new meaning for it in the 21st century. So below you'll see a link to the video recording of the first 6 movements of Emily Sings. Feel free to watch. If you like what you see, please go to our KickStarter page to help us record the second 6 movements as well as the world premiere in December 2023.